So I've come up with a brand new tower idea for Tower Defense Simulator, along with a cool consumable concept I'd like to share. I'm not gonna be diving into the specific stats and costs, since it's kinda tough to judge the balance without being able to test it, but I'll be explaining the core ideas behind them. So let's start off with the tower, and the tower is called the Musketeer. This is a cliff-based tower, which I think we really need more of right now, because we've only got a handful, like the Ranger, the Mortar, the Sniper, and maybe the Gatling gun if you count it. The Musketeer will deal high damage with a slower fire rate, kind of like the Ranger, but with a little less damage. It will gain hidden detection at higher levels, lead detection, and naturally flying detections. This is a cliff-based tower. Now, what really sets this tower apart are two things: its firing mechanic and a special damage effect. Now, for the firing mechanic, a potential cliff tower, like that hasn't been added yet but could be added, will kind of struggle with one thing, and that's a consistent piercing, due to the varying cliff heights on every map and track distances from said cliffs. So here's how the Musketeer would get around this big problem. So when it shoots and hits an enemy, the first enemy it hits, the bullet will keep going straight forward after that point of contact, where it pierces up to 2 more enemies in a straight line, which could get increased by levels, stuff like that. If it hits a flying enemy though, the bullet will continue also straight forward, but at the flying enemy's height. So it could also pierce through other flying units in its line of fire. This makes it potentially strong counter to like flying enemies, because it will only be piercing the flying enemies and the grounded enemies separate. Unless like the ground enemy is like super tall or something. And now for the special mechanic, it will deal 2 times damage, so the Musketeer will do double damage to shielded enemies, which if you didn't know are the enemies with the yellow HP bar. So these enemies are super common in events due to the mutation mechanic, where every time it comes back, the enemy, it will have like a little more extra shielded health. But there's not really a tower that can directly counter it. So giving the Musketeer the speciality makes it a great utility pick if the map or game mode asks for it. While its base DPS is lower than something like a Ranger, under the right conditions, like piercing through multiple shielded enemies, it could actually surpass many towers in DPS. If this is too broken, it could also just be a flat amount of extra damage that depends on the level of the Musketeer. But I thought this was a good idea because you can kind of like switch around the, oh, maybe I should use the Ranger for this team comp or this map, and then use the Musketeer for this. Now for my next idea, the consumable idea is called the Totem. And this is pretty much inspired by the Totem in Bloons TD. And while it's not completely original, I thought it would fit perfectly in TDS. So here's how it would work. When you place the totem, you can use it kind of like an ability a normal tower would have. You can select another tower within its range, which would be the range of like a damage flag, for example. So a red energy stream would connect the totem and the chosen tower as like the indicator, and that tower's ability will now automatically be used whenever it's off cooldown. So this will be insanely helpful for things like a DJ booth for the auto cash collection on the green track. The commander for maybe ability chaining would make it a lot easier. And maybe also the commander's caravan ability, where you just can constantly send it out of cooldown. Or any other ability reliant tower. So it's a simple concept, but it adds a ton of quality of life. And also potentially a lot of strategy. Especially in chaotic late game, where it's super laggy and it's really hard to see like all the different abilities being used and stuff like that. So abilities that need a second input, like the military base's airstrike ability or the harvester's fine ability, as just 2 examples, would have also a second input, which would be the location at which the casting should be constantly happening at. anyways, those are just my ideas. The Musketeer Tower and the Totem Consumable. I think they would bring some fresh gameplay and unique mechanics to TDS. And I think we also just need a lot more cliff towers because we barely have any. So let me know in the comments, do you like this concept? Do you absolutely hate it and think it's horrible? Would you like to use a tower like Musketeer? Or do you find the totem useful? Or better yet, share your own idea for maybe a tower or consumable you have. Well, thank you so much for watching.